there's 3 people here. There weren't that many, so thank you very much for coming out. I was talking to you guys or somebody, and you know, this is about a terrible catastrophe. So when I say, "Gee, I hope you sure enjoy this," they didn't enjoy it at the time, but it was a fascinating time. She was worried if she'd do a good job. Did she do a good job?
Yes.
All right, did it right.
Okay, that's done, almost.
Well, one of the things I've done in the past, and I got, anybody here know Johan Glidden? You know Johan? You know how talented he is? Well, he was my neighbor, and I had done music way back in the 80s, and I was just so blessed to have this prodigy right above me. And you know, after he graduated from high school, he got a studio open, and him and I always talked about recording together. And I got to record, I think, 3 songs with him, maybe 4 songs with him. And Sue Ann, she made me. She said, "I have to sing," which I was going to do anyway. But anyway, I'm going to sing this chorus to this song, and I'll tell you about the song in a little bit. It actually relates to what I'm doing here today, but I promise not to sing the whole time about a fire. But the chorus goes, this chorus was with me for like 10 years before it became a song, and it goes, "Let's go down, take me down. Let's go down to Whiskey Road. Let's go down, take me down to where the wild at heart go. Let's go down, take me down. Let's go down to Whiskey Road. Let's go down to where the wild at heart go." That's how it goes. Let's go down, oh, take me down to Whiskey Road. That's all I'm going to do right there. It's the advantage of singing songs that you wrote. If I mess up, you don't know it. But I don't know if anybody was in our video or not, and I don't feel too bad promoting it because we don't make any money off of it. Matter of fact, well, they tell me if you get to 100,000 views, you start making money, and we're right now, we just went to 11.
We're getting there.
It's just a hair away from making $1 or 2, but I think you would enjoy it. I don't know if some of you were here or not, but we did this. I'll tell you the story about it. I think you'll enjoy the story, not this part. But I lost my wife of 26 years, about 6 years ago, and you know, as I was mourning and I started getting myself together, I started having this fantasy of being in love and walking down Whiskey Road hand in hand with the person I love. And I didn't think that person exists, but she's right back there. And so it gave me the motive to finish the song, and you'll see the words to it. If you're kind enough to go listen to it, keep punching it over and over and over, put it out. But
That's how we got 11,000 views.
they don't know. But what was I going to say? Some of you are here. Some of you from the Regulators, and part of the reason, a big reason I did the song was to honor those people who add to Prescott's Old West culture, Wild West culture. It's getting better and better. I don't know if you saw, if you're on Facebook, but somebody was asking about when they come to Prescott, what do you do? And one guy goes, "Don't go to Whiskey Row. There's just a bunch of cosplay dorks down there." You know what cosplay is? I didn't know either, but it's people who dress up like us. So I've adopted that term. I like, we're a bunch of cosplay dorks. But if you would like to visit, yeah, we're actually proud of the video we did. The song that I actually have the most views in there. I did river trips down to Colorado for 6 years. When I lived on the Navajo Indian Reservation, and I was blessed to have this summer job, and then I took over a company that ran the company. I wrote this song, the Grand Canyon song, and it's taken a life. It's got 20,000 views if you count the the auditory only, it's more. But I'm proud of that one as well. So if you'd be so kind to go listen to that one too. That one, so we only need 80,000 views to make some money on that one. Oh, I wanted to promote this, and we have some people here who've been part of this fundraiser we've been doing. I wrote, when I first came to Prescott, I discovered nobody had written the history of Whiskey Row. It wasn't in book form. I went to go buy books about the history of Whiskey Row because I heard all these stories and oh, it's great. And I was so excited about moving to Prescott, like maybe some of you were. Lived in Phoenix for 19 years, 12 years on the reservation, but I wanted to live here so bad. I bought a cabin out in the forest, and I have a master's degree in history, and I was writing a book based on my thesis. But when I got here and learned that nobody had written the history of Whiskey Row, I said, well, there it is. That's what I want to do, because I wanted to find it out, and I discovered lots of different things. It was a lot different than I thought it would be. Because what do you hear about when you go on Whiskey Row? Herbs, Doc Holliday, herbs. And I kept waiting for that to show up. And it did, but much different. So my new project, I started out calling the Prescott Tombstone Connection. And it's going to end up being about the herbs. It'll probably be called the Herbs, Doc, and Kate in Prescott, but it's going to be, there's an amazing connection between the two towns because we were the territorial capital. Everybody came through here or was here first. There was a big exodus when Tombstone was booming, and Prescott didn't like Tombstone very much because it was taking all our folks away. I mean, in droves. Virgil Earp was here. He was one of those that left. One of the people that was here was Tom Fitch, who's the guy who represented the Earps in the inquest, I guess you call it. And just all, Josie Earp was here, Johnny Behan, who's the enemy, Virgil was here, and of course Doc Holliday was here. So I've been doing an in-depth study of that. We discovered where he lived when he was here, which nobody had done before. The smartest thing I do is get help. I would like to take credit for finding this place, but all I did was give her the known information. And anybody knows Sue Kissel? I was at the archives at Charlotte Hall, and she disappeared, came back, she goes, I found it. We found the lot numbers, we found the house number, everything. So we've done a fundraiser, and this man right here, these two right here, raised a bulk of the money to get this plaque done. It's being made. It's going to have this text on it right here, and I want to invite you all to the unveiling and dedication on August 14th at the site. You know where the Prescott Brewing Company was? It's now the Brown Bag Burger. So that parking lot behind there, that's where the house sat that Doc lived in. So that's where we're going to put the plaque right there. So it's real exciting. I'm going to have a commemorative booklet on it and everything, but I have to be careful. I will talk forever and go on and on and on. And I have so many pictures to show you. Let me start with that. When I first started researching the history of Whiskey Row, I started with the fire. Can you see okay? I started with the fire because I knew something about it. And it really was a pivotal event. Then I realized there's so much more. So I actually went all the way back to 1864, and I went through every newspaper. Was the Arizona Miner, all the way through the fire, through 1902, and then beyond. I mean, every one. And I was in the archives. They would laugh. I could hear them on the phone talking to the people at the desk, and I could hear the receptionist there on the phone, and I could hear they were asking, how many you got today? Oh, nobody, just Brad. That's how often I was there, you know. That's the way you got done, but it was such a passion to do, and I found some amazing things. So my second book, after I decided to go ahead and write about the history of Whiskey Row from '64 up to the fire, I knew I had to do a book on just the fire, and really I go over a lot that was in the first book. But I was telling Sue Ann, writing a book's hard. It's it's not easy. It's a lot more to it. And after I wrote the first one, I was like going, it's a masterpiece. And then I learned as I went on, my grade started going down. Okay, it's like a 95. And then it kept dropping. Right now it's rated at 82. You know? But this book here I give a higher grade to, so it's the one I'm most proud of. It was a very unique study. The study of history is called historiography, big old fancy word. But it's the study of history, how you study history. And this was a unique challenge. I'll just start with what happened at the fire itself. So, they had two newspapers at the time, the Miner and the Courier. They were Daily Courier or something like that, different, bigger names. They kept changing names. But both of the newspapers' headquarters burned down. They were victims of the fire. There was one other newspaper there. It was called the Howler, and it sounds just like you think it would be. It was the national. It was the Prescott Inquirer. It was like a tabloid. Bear, cat on wheels, somebody called it. It was just a funny newspaper. It survived of all papers, but the other two, they were victims of the fire. So when everything died down, there was no opportunity for these reporters from the newspapers to go around and ask, what did you see? How do you think it started? They were more concerned with getting back in business. And when they did get back in business, they weren't concerned too much about what had happened, but what was going to happen. And when they did go around and interviewing the owners, they were, what are you going to do now? And to a person, they said, we're going to rebuild. They were almost, there was a momentary, when the sun came up the next day and they saw their town gone, you would expect that it was pretty devastating, you know. But over and over and over, you read about the frontier spirit, this persevering spirit, that they were almost giddy to create a new town. Right away they were saying, I'll show you some of the quotes here. So what happened was, to get these stories, it took me a while to learn. I started going to like 1905. And I can't remember why I was doing that, but I got to like 1905 and I saw that there was a reunion. And then they would get together and on these anniversaries, the eyewitnesses and the people who fought the fire would tell their stories. So the stories started adding up. And then 1910, 15 increments, multiples of 5 and 10, 20, 25, 50, all the way to 1975, they were having reunions telling these stories. And some of them were whoppers, but most of them, I kind of vetted which ones would. So a lot of the stories that I'll tell you today came from those anniversaries over the year. The Courier put it this way, and this was July 19th, so 1456, 4 or 5 days after they put out their first newspaper. And they said there's just no space to tell all that. They didn't have time. While this paper was out, they were still putting they had a temporary headquarters just like everybody else did. But they were saying, we don't have time to talk about all the daring deeds and the heroes that were part of this fire. It wasn't they didn't have space, which they didn't, but they had to get new printers. The Miner actually got their printer shipped up from the Arizona, what's now the Arizona Republic. They sent them a printing machine, so they were able to get a paper out. I'm not sure how the Courier did it, but they got a paper out and got it out pretty quick. The first ones to report it were Arizona Republic, Phoenix Republican. It was called at the time, spelled Phenix, Phoenix Republican. But without a doubt, it was, like I said, I knew where to start. It was the pivotal point in Prescott's history. It was, do we keep going? Do we rebuild? Do we let this place become a ghost town, a burned down ghost town? A lot of people were living here, so it might have survived anyway. But to a person, it was just all positive. We're going to rebuild better, and they did. It was the pivotal point. More than 70 businesses were destroyed. $1.5 million was the estimate of how much was lost. That kept changing. So that was today $55 million. And I wrote this presentation a while back, so it's gone up since then. This thing called inflation, keeps going up. Here's a typical response to, are you going to rebuild? John Lawler, who you've probably heard of, capitalist. Prescott, even in ashes, will rise. I'm willing to stand by it and the last to desert it. There was a whole list of these guys that they talked. Their Cobweb Hall is right here. Anybody ever hear the baby on the bar story? Famous baby on the bar story? It became famous saying it happened in that bar, but it actually didn't. So it became famous for a story that did not even happen there. But J.G. Hawkins was the proprietor and just excited about rebuilding. Prescott is destined to be the gem of the mountains, and I think it is. I'm biased, but I think it is. This guy was a character. Just a flash room, just a scratch, no big deal. This spire is a little setback, but the town will get there again. He was a liquor wholesaler. He was a really, I don't know if it's because he sold liquor that he was so popular, but he was a very popular man, Jake Marks, and he comes up later. But if you know downtown Prescott, Nob Hill, the first beautiful house on Union Street, that's actually his house, refurbished of course. That beautiful house is actually Jake Marks' house. This is a photograph of Prescott before 1900, and it's got to be between 1895 and 1900. So this is what it looked like, and it looks like it's on that hill where Pioneer's Home is, which I don't know the name of the hill. We just call it Pioneer's Home Hill. But I'm gonna have to get in the way here. But I want to give you some points of reference. We have the great grandson of the man who founded this hotel here, Dennis Burke. His name was Dennis Burke, that founded this hotel right here. And I think it was 1892. Are you familiar with the years at all when it first?
I think you're right, it might have
I
been
think it was 92, and then they added a floor in 1894 here. So this is post 1894. You can see the Sacred Heart Church. Well, let me, because I'm lost. I'm not used to looking at it this way. There's the courthouse. Sacred Heart Church, still here, now the Center of Arts. The Knights of Pythias building, which Wendy had an office there, my wife back there. Still here. Okay, let me do it this way. The fire, so we got Whiskey Row, what's now Whiskey Row, heading up to the Hotel Burke, which is now Hotel St. Michael. The fire started, it's so different when you're not. I rehearse on the computer. The fire started in this area right here. It was called the Scopel Block. This was a nice hotel. It's called the Grandview House. They call it the Scopel House. Something I want you to kind of take a picture of in your brain is, right here is Chinatown. It survived the fire. They were just ingenious how they did it. So we got Granite Creek right here. You can see it was dry. At this time, July 14, 1900, there had been a drought that had gone on for years, and there was actually a ban on the use of water. You can only water your flowers outside between 7 and 8 o'clock. If you broke that ban, you stood a chance of losing your water rights. So it was a very serious time. The water mains were, the reservoir was dropping. Here's a picture taken from nearly the same spot after the fire. You can see it, to me it looks like it's still kind of smoking a little bit. But I'll start with, look at Chinatown. It's all intact right here. So today that's where that football field is, the Mile High middle school football field. The school's down in here. Chinatown went up about this far. But you can see the Grandview House is gone. Whiskey Row, the Hotel Burke's pretty much, you can't really see it. There stands Sacred Heart. Post office survived. It was just surrounded by fire, almost surrounded. So what happened, I'll just tell you this now, how the Chinese survived the fire and the Chinatown survived the fire was Granite Creek was dry, but they were smart enough to store water. So when the fire started happening, they got cushions, quilts, mattresses, anything they could think of that would soak up water. And they put those on top of the building so when a neighbor would fly over, it would put it out. And that's the way the wind was blowing. It was blowing south and west. So it's by. There'll be some other pictures here. I wanted to tell you this too. I think I told somebody else. I was in the last stage of the Whiskey Row Fire book. I needed one photo. Who was I talking to? I needed one photo. I went into the archives. Also, I discovered this new set of photos that the public had never seen before. I had never seen before. I don't know if they were just donated recently at that point. And I found one, I found 2, 5, 10, 15, 20. I'm still putting in order. I was real happy about it, but at the same time I'm going, man, God, that's enough, because not only do you pay for the photo, but there's a permission to use fee. I ended up spending $2,000 on the photos. We had a book signing at the Palace. I made $2,000, and I gave it right back to them so I could pay off those photos. That broke my heart, I gotta tell you. So a lot of these photos are some that I discovered right at the last minute, but they made the book so much better. Some are just spectacular. So this, you can see the Phoenix Republican here. It's now the Arizona Republic. This, they were in a hurry to get a report out. So this is the map that was drawn and used and published July 16th, I think, in the Phoenix Republican. And it tells the story pretty well. There's some mistakes. There was some misinformation that came out right away, as you would expect. And I'll tell you what's right about it is half of this block was gone. This block is gone. So 3.5 blocks were gone. The mistakes that were made, for some reason a report came out that it started as Bottling Works, which was a one-story building. And they found out later, the Phoenix people found out later, Bottling Works wasn't even there. It was another business altogether.